Okay, it's Rabbi Shmuel Pollen. I hope you're all doing well and you're all safe. I just want to make a quick announcement before we get into this week's episode. This week's episode is called Getting High on God, which is something that I'm sure you are all interested in doing. But before we do that, I just want to give a word about COVID. And there are still thousands of people dying every day around the world. And even those who aren't dying are coming up with different symptoms that are permanent, like a stutter, something that could tremendously damage their quality of life. It's a terrible, terrible situation, and do not get used to it. That's the most important thing. Do not get used to opening the paper and reading about thousands of deaths and thousands of lives disrupted. Do not be okay with it. The way out of this madness is through crying out to God and saying, "This will not stand anymore. I will not take this anymore. You must send the Messiah and bring the redemption." That is how it worked with the Israelites, the Jews in Egypt, when they cried out, when they said it's enough. That's when God sent the Messiah and took them out of Egypt. The same thing is supposed to happen in the future. And now let's go on to our episode, Getting High on God. And it starts with a few questions. What if you didn't need food? What if you didn't need drink? What if you didn't need sex? What if you didn't need a great body? What if you didn't need a wife or a husband, a boyfriend or a girlfriend? What if you didn't need alcohol? What if you didn't need drugs? What if you didn't need skydiving or snorkeling or bungee jumping, fishing? What if you didn't need clubs and you didn't need dancing in general? Now, I'm not saying these are all bad things. Some of them you should do and you must do. But the question is, do these things need to be needs? Do they have to be a need, or can they be a delight, a complement onto your life, something that you don't really need, but you love anyway? If that is true, then there must be a way to generate happiness and a high that's better than any of these highs. If you're not going to need that stuff, you're going to need something else, a high that's better than any of those highs, stronger than any of those highs. And I'm here to tell you that it does exist, and all you need to get it is a Bible and a prayer book from a authentic Orthodox Jewish publication. In order to understand how this is possible, let me tell you something about yourself. Because the Bible says you should worship God with your hearts, not hearts. In other words, they're saying that you have more than one heart. You have one soul or heart in the left ventricle of your heart, and you have another soul or heart in the right ventricle of your heart. The first one on the left side is the animal soul. That's the one you're using all the time, right now. At this very moment, you're using your godly soul, but in general, you're always using your animal soul from when you wake up until you go to sleep. The animal soul leads to all the worry and stress that you have, all the frustration that you have, all the thoughts that this is not good enough or I'm not good enough, all the dishonesty that you do to try to get out of certain situations, the whole idea of being in survival mode, doing whatever it takes to just keep going, overeating, drugs, clubs, sex, and all different kinds of sex because you have to keep it interesting, right? Always gets boring after a while. You get the picture. That's the heart that's on fire right now. That's your gasoline. That's what you're running on. But there is another heart, and that is the godly heart from the right side. And that one is like a stone, and the stone inside has burning embers in it. It's glowing inside, but it's inside the rock, so you cannot see it at all. You cannot experience it, and you cannot feel it. And what you have to do is take a hammer and smash that rock, shatter it for the fire to come out, which will come out in a more powerful way, like a torch, an extremely powerful fire, but like a torch, completely under your control, not spilling out into a forest fire, God forbid. This fire is so powerful, it actually will come and consume the animalistic fire, the fire from the left side. So you have an even greater fire also under your control. At that point, you are a united person because you don't have this fight between the two souls. You are a more powerful person. You're a calm person, a peaceful person. You see meaning and purpose in everything that you do and everything that you see. You help other people shatter their rock so that their fire unites with yours and you get an even greater fire. And that fire is a high that you're getting off of godliness. It's a high that you're getting off of God. I felt that high today, very much so. And I have to tell you about it. I feel that high every day to some extent, but I felt it very high today. And I'm here to tell you that the high is just as great as when you take the drug ecstasy. It is ecstasy, natural, from your hormones, from your blood. People who are ahead of me, who are older and have been doing this much longer, like the Alter Rebbe, the first founder of the Hasidic movement of Chabad, it's more than ecstasy. It's more than the body can actually handle. So you wind up, like him, rolling around on the ground, crying out to God because you're in this ecstasy. Many people, as recorded in the Bible, like Nadav and Abihu, actually die when they begin to experience this ecstasy. In fact, all the Jewish people at the giving of the Bible died because this pleasure was so great, and they had to be brought back to life and given the rest of the commandments. They only heard two of them for this reason, because they couldn't handle any more from God. They couldn't handle any more of the pleasure. I saw this talk recently. It was a TED talk, and it was about Cubans. And apparently, Cuba is a country filled with seduction. You walk down on the street, and seduction is happening between the boy across the street and the girl across the street. She's making sexy moves. She's teasing him. He's teasing her. It's all about no, but maybe, or maybe not. It's push and pull. It's a whole seduction situation going on. And she said that seduction is like money. Just like money can be used for good or for bad, it depends what your motivations are, it depends what you have inside. So too, seduction can be for good or for bad, and she can use it in business and she can use it in helping herself get a TED talk, as she said. I disagree with that analogy. I would not say that seduction is like money. I would say that seduction is like fire and actually is fire. And fire is dangerous. It needs to be completely controlled so that no one gets hurt. Because that boy across the street could be someone's husband. That girl could be someone's girlfriend. And if they see you seducing each other like that, there's going to be hell to pay. They're going to be very upset. They're going to be very hurt. The wife will get hurt. Then the boy will react and hurt her back in turn. Everyone will get hurt. Why? Who knows if the relationship will even survive it? Why? All for a momentary hit of dopamine. That's Satan's hormone, which gives you a quick hit and then a drop, and then you need another hit and another hit and another hit. But you go through that pain and addiction all because of a moment of pleasure. So seduction is fire. Be very careful with it. It's a great thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a good thing between husbands and wives. It's a good thing with the right person at the right time in the right place. You have to know how to use these things for what they're good for in the right circumstance. So I don't know if just having passion just flowing through the streets, it's like a fire going through the streets. It's very, very dangerous. I don't know if it's something to be really proud of. It's good to know how to do it for your marriage. Keep it spicy, keep it interesting. But people don't really know better. They only know their animal soul. So this is the way they get high, through the animal soul. But the animal soul always traps you. It's Satan's soul. It always traps you and makes you miserable in the end. And we want to be in a situation where we get good and high, and then more high and more high and more high. And that's what you can achieve with the godly soul when you're first able to break through that rock. Interestingly, when you get out of this prison that the godly soul is in, and you get to the glowing embers, you get to the glowing light that can be used to do anything. You will get out of the prison of all your bad characteristics, all the fear, all the anxiety, all the depression, all the frustration, all the disharmony that you have with the world. With the godly soul, there is no such disharmony. You're totally connected with God. You're connected with the source of reality, so that everything that happens is meaningful to you, useful to you, good for you. You look at it like God looks at it, and God looks at it like it's all good, that everything is good. We just don't see it. But how do we get a high such as the high of all these drugs and greater than all of these drugs, greater than all the clubbing in the world and all the concerts? You don't need any of it. It all means nothing. You don't know a thing about pleasure until you've experienced the pleasure of the godly soul. You think you know pleasure. You think you want pleasure, but you haven't experienced what the godly soul has to offer. It's actually some hard work to get to the point where you get that high. It's not like the animal soul where you can just take a shot of vodka and you're feeling better. That will give you a little high, but then you'll need a little more, a little more. And that's really small, pathetic little highs. Nothing like the glowing embers of the godly soul. But what's the hard work you have to do? Well, you start off your day going to a ritual bath. And maybe you don't have a ritual bath near you, but maybe you should find out where one is. Specifically designed for your spiritual purification. That's the first thing you do during the day. You go in there totally disrobed, totally naked. You come out feeling total purity. Then you study Hasidic philosophy. This is what we do in the Talmudic academies. Hasidic philosophy talks about how God created the world and who God himself is. So, in other words, you study to discover the secrets of the universe. And there's nothing more inspiring or more exciting and more fiery than that. Hasidic philosophy is like psychology, but it's also like philosophy. It's also going far deeper into philosophy and psychology than you ever have, going deeper and deeper into the anatomy of your soul, so you know yourself like you never have, and you can control yourself like you never had. If you do this right, your heart is already singing. It's singing, it's harmonizing. Then you pray for an hour straight, not making up stuff at first, just reading exactly what the prayer book says, because the sages who come from Moses already put in all the keys towards unlocking your heart and shattering your rock. Prayer softens your soul, and it softens it up for the next step, which is to study the practical laws of how you should live your life. And then the next step, which is to actually live your life in consonance with those laws. So prayer softens your heart, it breaks the rock. In order to do it right, you have to humble yourself. You have to coronate God, make him your king, give up everything, give up your body to him, give up your soul to him, bow down on the floor in total submission. Because humility is the way to get to this high. You know in prayer that you're just going to take this feeling that you have and hold on to it by doing whatever God wants with it as best you can. The layers of rock start to shed away and the light starts to shine. Endorphins start flooding your system, oxytocin starts flooding your blood, and then you learn again, like I said, the practical knowledge, how to keep the 613 commandments for Jews or the 7 no-hide laws for non-Jews. And you know, as you learn that it is not what it seems. It is not just a law about what if one ox gores another ox. You know that there is a book that you can buy to learn 100 ways to uncover the meaning of the word Vayikra, which means and he called. Every word that you learn has 100 meanings that you can learn from it. Just knowing that when you learn the one meaning gives you a certain fire. You feel like you're connected to something very much greater than you, very much greater than you can ever be. In fact, In the next world, most people, what they do there is study. And one kid actually came back with a near-death experience, a scientifically proven near-death experience, that when he was in heaven, he was told to do homework. And you might say, homework? That sounds like hell. Who wants to do homework? But he loved it. He loved the homework because it was written in such a wonderful, exactly tailored way towards the way that his mind works, that it was a great pleasure for him to put the words down on paper. And he also, of course, recognized that there were many layers of meaning to what he was writing. So this layers of meaning gives you a tremendous high to realize that you're basically in heaven. You're basically going deeper and deeper into this thing. And you can only learn in heaven what you learned down here. So if you didn't learn it, if you didn't learn that piece of Talmud, you can't learn it up there. So when you learn it, you're getting more and more excited about what you're going to learn up there. Or when the Messiah comes, learn it down here. You realize that everyone who died is learning often the very same thing you're learning. They might be learning it actually with you, but on a completely higher level. So you know when you're learning that, those simple laws, you're doing something much, much deeper, much, much more profound, much, much different than anything you've ever experienced. You can learn the same verse for 10 years in the next world. And just knowing that makes what you're learning very special. These words that you learn become like fire. They take on a whole new strength, whole new power. And you study those words for another hour. And then you're ready to start your day. A day of working to make money, which you will use to serve God. So the progression is seamless. You go to the purity, the study, the prayer, more study, and then you go into your day and you do everything that you plan to do. You were serving God in the way that you committed yourself to do before. And it will be tough because there will be a lot of distractions. There will be a lot of challenges, but you will ultimately do it. And actually that connection of the spiritual pursuit, which is happening in the morning, when it connects to the actual physical deeds in the afternoon or the later morning, it is the highest high of all, although it's difficult to keep it going. But you certainly have this tremendous high in the morning. You should have it at least once a day. Jews pray 3 times a day, so they'll have it 3 times a day. This keeps the oxytocin flowing, keeps the high going, and every day you get better at praying. You get more insight into praying. You get more insight into what you're learning. You get more of those 100 versions of the explanation of those words, and the high just grows and grows and grows. And you say, what is this guy doing that's exciting? What is this guy doing that's giving him a high? Well, that's just like, I'm sorry about the phone there. We are back. And I was saying that the kid doing homework doesn't look like he's doing much, but he's on a total high. He's getting so much depth in what he's doing that it's a depth of the intellect. And like, for instance, do you get a pleasure in food or do you get a pleasure in music? Well, you get pleasure in both, but the music is at a completely different level than the pleasure of food. You can't compare them. Well, this is like music squared. It's like music times 1,000. It's tremendously higher than music. It's the most rarefied, subtle, and yet completely enthralling music that you can possibly hear. It puts any club music or the music on the radio to shame. It's the greatest high of all. You literally feel like you're on a drug, but there's no letdown and no hangover. If you can hold on to this energy, keeps going on the straight and narrow path, the energy can be greater and greater every single day until ultimately, which God willing, I will reach the level where you're rolling on the ground because you can't even stand any more pleasure. You have 2 hearts. You are familiar with one. Get familiar with the other one. The other one is where the action is. And it may not look like much. It may just look like a person with a prayer book and going into a ritual bath and a Bible. But it's so much more than what the world offers you. You're doing things, you're going to other worlds, and you're going to unlocking the secrets of the universe. You're learning things that you will learn again at 100 different levels, 1,000 different levels. It's an unbelievable experience which you must have before you even judge how you want to live your life. Now, one caveat, this will be easier, the shattering of the rock, for Jews than it is for non Jews. That is because many, many Jews in the Jewish family have done this already. You, if you're non Jewish, it will likely be, you will likely be the first person in your family to do this, to uncover the godly soul. But you can do it. And what a feat that will be to be the one in your family that makes them all proud. If this is the first time circumcising your heart, it is a source of great comfort, inspiration, and it's difficult at first, and the pleasure you get at first may not be much, but it will grow, and you have to stick with it. And the Messiah will be here soon. You just need to take a step towards him and his teachings. In the meantime, take a step towards the teachings of his mentor, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson. Google it. When we all get together, shatter our rocks, and unite our fires together, and we light up the world, we will turn this world into a godly global paradise. Let's do it together. Shatter that rock, humble yourself, submit yourself, realize and recognize how big God is and how small you are. Imagine you're seeing yourself as an ant from an airplane. That's a good start. Try to fit in everything going on in your body, all the chemical reactions going on in your body and your brain, and realize how amazing that is and how only God could do that. All the things that are happening right now in your body, and then think about how all the things that are happening in everybody's body in 7 billion people. But try to think of each one and each one and each one. Good luck fitting all this information into your head. It's a lifetime of fitting all this information into your head. But let's cry out now. Let's tell God COVID is unacceptable anymore. We won't take it anymore. Enough death, enough crying, enough tears. Let's shatter all the rocks and let our fires burn hot and yet totally in our control. And let the fire light up the world so everyone can see the truth that God is here and God is one. Connecting to him is the greatest high of all if you just open yourself up to it. God bless.